pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Moment of silence. Thanks very much. I need a motion on the minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve them.
I'll second.
Second by Diane. Changes, additions, deletions, outright errors.
I found one little itty bitty.
How itty bitty.
Top of page 2, Henry Boyle made a motion to, I think it should be approve the manifest.
Henry Blow?
Henry Boyle.
Boyle, okay. What he said, accept.
He wrote, you could accept, I think it's.
What'd you say, Hank?
2 weeks ago.
Well, we usually
Oh, yeah.
approve.
I might have said accept, I might have said approve. If
That
she
was
put
it.
that
He
accept,
might
I
have.
probably said accept. Change it to approve?
Any other changes, additions, deletions? Yeah. You do that. It seems to me that the recollection of the people at the table is adequate.
I would agree.
All in favor of approving as amended? Opposed? Abstentions? Everybody approves. Is that the old one? Can I look over your shoulder? Yeah, sure. Let's see.
Correspondence.
Correspondence.
You have just two substitute reports.
Great. I will pass those around. Commendations and good news.
Students showed up today.
5 days ago. 4 now.
Hold that thought.
I don't know that I can top that.
No, I was gonna say.
Last
Sometimes-
2 weeks have been extremely busy. I attended the Springtime Carnival at Mountain View Middle School. That seemed to be well attended. It was a gathering. It was snow cones and events and cakewalks and things to do outside that were active, and all the proceeds that were generated were going to go to Crispin's house. I also attended a youth forum meeting at Mountain View Middle School, which I thought was neat, that they would actually bring youth forum down to Mountain View Middle School. I had a chance to meet a young lady who has her whole life plan all in place. She's going through the Coast Guard. She's going to become a doctor. She made me a heart. She's going to be a general internist, and she's really got everything all squared away. And I was actually very impressed with the student council members that attended the youth forum meeting. They were well-spoken and articulate and thoughtful. The discussion core focused around a student's view of way to improve Mountain View Middle School. I also attended a walk-through time parent night at Mountain View Middle School, which was very well done. It was a program that was just about a year-long program for Team 6-3. They spent quite a bit of time focusing on ancient civilizations, and they did it in a multifaceted way through their science and through their LA and through their mathematics, and the event was huge. It was absolutely huge. I'd recommend that more opportunities like this be supported in the middle school, because the students had such an impact, a year-long impact from staff members that were willing to take that kind of time and effort to make such a program for them. And then I attended the senior barbecue and the graduation, and both of those were spectacular. The graduation was huge. It was my first graduation, and I was just so impressed and in awe at the amount of people that were there and how well behaved the students were and how serious they took it, and the speeches that Liz Kelly made, and the salutatorian and the valedictorian. They were very insightful and very thoughtful. So that's what I've been doing. Oh, and the 250th anniversary cake on last Friday. That was fun. Again, 250th birthday was Friday, and there's all kinds of events going on in Goffstown, so check your paper. Last Thursday, it was all about the 250th celebration and what's coming for the rest of the year.
And if you missed a Thoreau grilled hot dog, you need to show up for the barbecue next year. Best on the planet.
That's all I had.
Go ahead.
You can go.
Okay, I was actually just gonna talk about Spring Fling at Maple Avenue.
I'll let you do that first.
I'd say it was well attended, the kids enjoyed it. I enjoyed tormenting the kids so that they make sure they come and try to dunk me in the dunk tank, and they did. I was dunked many times. So I was tired at the end of the day from having to climb back out and get back onto the board. So, but they did a great job, and the kids were so well behaved and they were good sports about it.
Oh, I just wanted to put in like 2 cents on that walk through time. I also stopped by. I was very impressed. I was able to talk to some of the kids who were acting in character for what they learned. And I was able to like watch them go through with their parents, like explaining the different things of what they learned. It was very, very impressive.
Yeah, the
Those-
kids definitely worked hard at it.
Those
Yeah.
are the type of things that you remember when you grow up. You remember those huge projects you did.
Maple Avenue. Tomorrow, Judy Pancoast will be kicking off our summer reading incentive called A Reading Road Trip. She will be performing 2 concerts, one for 1st and 2nd grade and one for 3rd and 4th grade. Children who read at least 10 books will receive a Reading Road Trip t-shirt in September. We are encouraging children to read their way across the USA, and we are going to provide them with a map and a reading log to document their reading accomplishments through the summer months. On Friday, we have Step Up Day. Students will meet next year's teachers and classmates. And on Friday, the PFT will be hosting a 4th grade breakfast. Each 4th grader receives a copy of the slideshow that is shown at the breakfast as a memento. And that is all. Yeah.
Last Monday, the 13th, was Step Up Day at Mountain View. It went really well. The program is a little bit different than they do at the elementary schools. The kids meet the teachers by subject matter and grade level instead of by team. So the social studies teachers, math teachers, whatever, were able to kind of give a unified presentation to the kids that come up through the grade levels. This coming Wednesday/Thursday, it's divided by grade level, is going to be the talent show at Mountain View. I think 5th and 6th are on Thursday and 7 and 8 are on Wednesday. And then 8th grade recognition will be here at the high school on Thursday night.
Do the 4th graders come up
Yes, I believe.
on Step Up Day? Are they the ones who look like tourists in New York? Mouths agape, looking up?
Unfortunately, I'm on the way other side of the building, so I don't
Yeah,
get to
I
see
actually
them.
think 4th graders may have already come up.
They went last,
Yeah, they went on Monday.
last Monday,
Yeah.
yeah,
From that Monday, yeah. You see them coming in, but I don't get to see them wandering the schools.
So did the 9th graders look like the 4th graders? Next year's 9th graders look
They
like?
do when they come up. They came up early this spring, and they look a little dazed and confused.
It's a big building, they don't know how to get around
No.
it, they say.
It's scary for them, so we try and make them as comfortable as we can. It's big and scary.
Yeah, for a couple days.
For a couple days, well, a couple weeks, and then we put them in their own spots. Wanted to share that the 2011 Best of New Hampshire Editor's Choice Award was given to Goffstown High School's music department for their production of Phantom. July's New Hampshire magazine is going to feature the winners, so they'll be in that magazine. This past Saturday, we had painting day at the high school, and we had student volunteers to come in and paint some of the classrooms. Sam Parent and his environmental club were able to get a donation from Ace Hardware of paint materials. The Ace staff was here to help out, and lots of students. So we have nice, colorful rooms for some of us, and I think there'll be another wave soon. So it was kind of nice.
I'd have to add, I stopped in on Saturday because I was very worried about painting and what it was going to look at the end, what the color choices were. We cut some colors out, but we agreed on some colors. And I will tell you, the kids were spectacular. They were everywhere. They were responsible. They were respectful. They really took it seriously. And we have some beautifully painted classrooms now.
They worked really
I'm
hard.
dying to know, who did the better job? The guys in the yellow suits or orange suits or the kids?
Who had more fun?
Well,
I think
been
the
a lot-
orange juice was a little more,
Well,
it was a harder job.
Yeah, it was.
While it might have been a lot of fun, I have to say that this board, when we did the renovation at the high school, specifically instructed the administration not to allow any color changes on any walls without board permission. So I know that I did not make that decision. That was made when they started the renovation the year before I joined. But it was reminded to me by a previous board chair that,
Well, that was, I guess, well before my time. I would not have known that.
because unfortunately, when we went to do the renovation, we found so many wacky colors in the building that,
Yes, they were all pre-approved colors. But I did not know there's not a policy on it, so.
I don't
it
believe
was
it's
a
a
motion,
policy.
it was a motion
Yeah.
made, but I'm not sure it's really enforceable necessarily,
The
but I
previous
just,
board.
yeah, previous board made that. And it was reminded to me when I became chair, don't forget about that, Keith, so. And I didn't pass that on to Philip, so. Philip, I just passed it on to you, don't forget.
Too late.
Yep.
Duly noted.
After the fact.
Can I delegate that to somebody to remember?
And that's one of those problems with, is if it was 20 years ago, how, you know.
It was 9 years, a little over
9 years ago.
yeah.
But where's that, like, it's hard to know who would, unless somebody brought it up, you wouldn't know that.
And I
It's
would-
not something I think.
And I would like to just comment, I might have been on that board at the time, and I would say that if they got a grant to paint classrooms and the colors were approved, I think that's awesome, especially if kids came in and did the work.
No, I think it's wonderful, but it just dawned on me, I never passed that information on, so.
And the teachers that came in to help also, I think
Yeah.
that was an awesome effort.
You are duly chastised.
I know.
And,
But I'm glad they got repainted though, because
They look great.
they're 9
They
years,
do.
it's
They
been
look
9
very
years since any of the
nice.
rooms have been painted, so it was due to start doing them,
They
so.
look very nice.
I wanted to give a commendation. I was at graduation, and this has been something that's been going on for many years, but I'm going to bring it out into the public and just say it out loud in a board meeting. I really thought it was a very nice graduation. It was all well done, and I do like how Principal McBride does his speech. Instead of going on about philosophy and where you're going in life, he makes it all about the kids, and I just think that makes it for the kids and their parents and for us that are listening, just a really cool experience that it's about the kids, those kids that are, you know, have done the work and are going on, that you really get to know a little bit about them. So,
It was, graduation, the entire day was fabulous, soup to nuts. At one point, I turned and looked at Jen, I said, are we at first grade? Because our students were all guests, as were all of us at St. A's. I don't think I've seen, if I use Mary Lane as an example, she's not with us anymore, her class as an example, I don't think I've seen a group of first, second, or third graders behave that well, ever. I mean, it was a group of young adults sitting around, sharing a meal together, having quiet conversation, enjoying themselves. It was extraordinarily orderly. They were just fantastic. They pulled it all off. There were there were some shenanigans that have become annual ritual, but other than those, it was just a terrific day. You know, and the students were absolutely fantastic, and it is their day, and kudos to the principal and everybody there for recognizing that it really should be about them, because they're the ones who did all the work. Congratulations to them all. Godspeed and knock them dead. And think outside the box.
Yes.
What box?
There is no box.
I'm still working on wording. I'm having a hard time.
We're waiting.
Yeah, I'll bet.
Any other good news? Commendations? Public comment?
No public.
Actually,
I don't know, we have public?
Oh, we do like
I'd
that.
actually like to make a
It's
comment as an
snuck in.
individual tonight.
Okay, the chairs, yeah, go ahead.
No, I certainly want to speak as an individual, and I'm using public comment for it. About a week ago, Donna Bernard was nice enough to email us some links to some recent GTV shows that she's done. So I took the time to inquire from numerous people in the community, asking them if they had viewed them. Some had not. I asked for input on the ones that had reviewed it about her show and the editorials that she writes. Surprisingly, the ones that, most of them, I can't say every single one, but most of them that had seen Donna Pinard's show said they simply watched it for entertainment. I asked them to expound upon that, and the most common words that were used by the individuals, and I wrote these down to make sure I'd get it right, was outlandish and silly to describe Donna's behavior and show. But as an individual, and when I was board member, I always listened to what Donna had to say. I always investigated any claims or suggestions given by Ms. Pinard. She has given some good ones. One good suggestion was a teacher's rep. I certainly asked the board to consider it. We wholeheartedly considered it, and we now have teacher's reps, which is wonderful. However, many of the comments that she's made over the years lack any validity. For example, when she came to this board and complained, saying that there was 12 grievances filed against Jim Hunt in the school district, and that school district Jim Hunt never, ever worked in. More recently, she made comments that we're putting up a new wall to create a new office space in Mountain View Middle School. I took the time to inquire on that as well, as I do on every basic allegation I hear her make. And that allegation was made by both her and Representative John Burke. To find out, the fact is, it was simply a quote that was done for consideration, and it never went any further than that. So that's why it was never brought to the board for consideration. What concerns me mostly about when Donna Pinard talks is that when she's wrong or it's pointed out that she's incorrect, she never takes the time to apologize or correct her statements. She simply seems to come up with a new allegation to bring forward. I certainly feel that Donna Pinard has every right to have her freedom of speech. I'm almost done. But I think she needs to recognize with rights comes responsibility, and I ask her strongly to consider what's responsible when she makes her comments. And that's it.
Jen?
I understand that free speech is free, but I think that this goes against our policy, our amended policy, and I think that
I'm speaking as an individual about Donna Pinard as an individual. I mean no references to what her employment may be.
in the spirit of,
If we may, Jen had the floor. I'm not sure that what she's going to say will necessarily require a response, but we can't find out until she's done.
in public session, the board will not hear personal complaints of school personnel nor complaints against any person connected with the school system. Section 3 of that policy.
And what part of it did I hear a complaint?
If I.
I don't.
In fairness to the policy and the distinctions that have been made from any number of people, I think that the hat that you're wearing at any given time, and I've seen different people wear numerous hats, needs to be considered. For going forward, I think that it probably makes some sense that if somebody here would like to wear a different hat, anybody, whether it's me, because I've been tempted to go sit there before, as a member of the public, because we're all members of this community. That's probably the appropriate place to do it from, rather than from this table. So to the extent that anybody here, because I think Jen's point is a thoughtful point, to the extent that anybody wishes to make a public comment, I would ask that in order to avoid, or at least to attempt to avoid issues with our own policy, that we have the opportunity to at least hear it from the public location rather than from the table.
I'll be glad to do that next time. But I did preface at the beginning that I was speaking as an individual, not as a board member.
I understand that.
And I certainly was, so
I'm-
next time
I'm
I'll get up
trying
and
to-
stand over there with the public.
I'm trying to offer some measured thoughts on something that I think there's plenty of room for discussion over. And I think that unless there's some feeling from the table, and certainly this is the time for any conversation that needs to be had about it, that seems to be a thoughtful way to deal with that. If there are things that cross the boundary of the policy. I think we'll have to deal with those at the time. But going forward, I think that's the way to deal with it for the time being.
Sure. I have no problem with that.
I'd just like to make the comment that I think the First Amendment and free speech really applies to everybody. And I think pretty much we've heard a lot of my rights as free speech, First Amendments, and I think that personally the school board has been very thoughtful in their comments and have at many times not said anything because we're taking the high road. My comment.
To add to what you said, I agree wholeheartedly with what you said, and free speech, you know, is definitely given to us in our Constitution. I think, though, that in an effort to promote, I don't want to say the high road, but certainly in an effort to be cooperative as opposed to combative, I don't feel that it was appropriate what Keith had to say in that forum.
In fairness, I guess, and hopefully maybe we can close this up. To the extent that free speech is an issue, and it's been talked about as an issue, regardless of who has spoken of it, it applies to everybody, no less to a board member than a member of a public or somebody who is employed by the district. Okay? So let's treat equally situated people in the same manner. I think that speaking as a member of the public, you sit where the public sits and you're afforded that opportunity. If we cross a threshold that creates a problem with the policy, we'll deal with it at the time.
Can I just share, I was speaking to about an individual who has come and made comment, had public comment in our forum. I am not talking about anybody in any other forum. It was strictly, and my point on it was that you have a right for freedom of speech, but there's a responsibility that our founding fathers, that founders formed that comes with it. And I'm asking everyone to please consider that. And I cited examples of when necessarily people are not being responsible when exercising their freedom of speech. That was what I was trying to do.
Any further discussion?
I think also that a lot of information goes out that's not factual, and people, you know, take it as gospel, and it's not gospel. And I think sometimes that we really have to stand up and say, I'm sorry, you know, taxpayer, that you don't know what goes on at all of these meetings. You need to have the facts and not just someone giving information erroneous or factual. You know, I mean, sometimes we have to stand up for ourselves and make sure that the information that gets to the taxpayer is correct and not something that someone's made up. Or that's their, not made up, that's their perspective is a better way to say that.
May I? Because, did I see your hand?
Yeah, I have a comment on another subject, so I don't want to interrupt this discussion, but once this
Okay,
is done, I have.
I promise not to forget you.
Yes, no, that's fine, I just
Okay.
wanted to.
Suzanne?
It's interesting we're having this conversation about the First Amendment and free speech, because I caught, unfortunately, only part of one of those programs where Mr. Burt and Ms. Bernard were chastising this board for trying to limit free speech. And I found that very disturbing and inaccurate.
Please.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Change the subject for
Let's
us, please.
change the subject.
We'll talk about athletics or something.
I wanted to take a moment to introduce myself again. I was here a couple months ago. My name is Daniel Hughes. I live at 5 Preston Street in Goffstown. But I'm actually here in kind of a separate role. Recently, the Bartlett PTA has elected a new group of officers, with Maureen Sage being the president, and I have been fortunate enough to be elected as the publicity coordinator for the Bartlett PTA. Part of the goal being to kind of get out what we're doing, get our information out to the public. I wanted to come tonight. I don't know exactly what the policy to get you guys information, so I figured open comment would be a good place to start, and then I'll work with whoever we work with to make sure you guys get as much information from us, but we've had a few things coming at the end of the year, and I apologize if I came in late and I repeat some stuff, but we had a couple of things that we've done in the last couple of weeks that I thought you guys might be interested to be aware of. The Bartlett PTA sponsored and paid for a program called Zoo Encounters, which we held last week at the elementary school. Various animals of different types were brought in, and the kids were able to experience that sort of firsthand and learn about the animals. It was a pretty amazing event. We are working on a new website and a extremely updated Facebook page. So for those of you guys that are involved in that, Bartlett PTA does have a Facebook page. We're starting to get pictures of those events up there so you guys can kind of see and experience what's going on at the school. We held our second annual field day last week as well. And we must have had, Holly Tate is the one that coordinates this, and she's done it for a couple of years. We must have had probably 30 parental volunteers throughout the course of the day running different events, and over 200 kids competed. The Goffstown Fire Department actually donated a bicycle, which was given away to one of the students. It was a young lady, and I apologize, I don't remember her name. They also gave away a ride on a fire truck to school, which is kind of a neat experience. My nephew in New Boston has experienced that, and it's a really kind of a special treat for the kids. So there's a lot of exciting stuff going on. Actually, the reason I was late was the PTA was holding its final cashola night at NATO's on Mass Road, and it was a mob house. It was great. There are tons of people coming in. NATO's is giving us a percentage of all of their sales between 4 and 8 p.m. tonight, regardless of whether those people came from Bartlett or not. So it's kind of a great way for us to wrap up our year. And finally, Bartlett has agreed to sponsor the youth music stage at the 250th, along with, I think, a couple of the other school PFTs and PTOs. I know Maple Lab is definitely doing it, or not Maple Lab, the middle school is definitely doing it. We will be part of that, as well as doing a booth downtown to do some activities for the kids and kind of have a fun thing. So I think you're going to see a lot of exciting stuff coming from us over the next year. We have just an amazing board of people who've been involved in the school for a couple of years, and we're going to start getting very, very active in the community. We're really excited about it, and I will definitely be back more often to share some of the highlights with you guys as we go through.
Terrific. That's fantastic. It's great to hear that there's a vibrant community over there. I'm going to ask you to speak with Diane McCarthy on a regular basis.
Absolutely.
She's our point person for this kind of news,
Okay,
and
great.
feel free to show up anytime for commendations and good news.
Excellent. I have one other question or request, and it's something I'd just like to have you guys think about. It was brought to my attention recently at Bartlett because of spacing that the teacher's lounge is being removed to make classroom space. I don't know if it is for an alternate classroom or specialty. I don't know what it's actually being used for. But I'd like somebody, if they could, to investigate that, to find out if that is actually happening. And if there's any kind of alternative, anything that we can do as a school district to provide some kind of space for these teachers. I can't validate that this is actually occurring, but I just wanted to bring it to the board's attention in case they weren't aware.
I can respond, and
Okay.
yes, the teacher's lounge is going to be taken over. We added another class due to class size.
Okay.
For next year, and so we have used up every available space, but this is another opportunity for actually the PTO to know as well and to help us support is our building and renovation and addition project that we were hoping to bring forward next year as a bond. So that will alleviate that problem.
Okay.
But yes, Bartlett actually at this moment in time will have used up every ounce of space with that additional teacher. There is not an ounce left to squeeze out of that building.
All right, well, if anybody has any creative ideas, definitely email them to us, because we're trying to figure out something to give our teachers a home. Thank you, that was a lot.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
Seeing no others, we'll move right along. Standing committee reports, admin and finance.
Okay, at this moment, I would like to move for approval the manifest totaling $1,255,261.
Is there a second?
Second.
Suzanne?
Okay, I'll give the highlights. The payroll was $586,480. Payroll taxes, $182,720. And the unemployment insurance for Primex was $23,877. for a total of $793.78. Special ed, transportation from Safeway and the provider totaled approximately, well, Safeway was $5,400 and the provider was $46,570. Crotchet Mountain itself, their fee for the period was $40,217. Total was $92,187 for special ed. The general expenses, the town of Goffstown for sewer, $10,100. Goffstown truck for the regular education transportation, $95,040. Full oil was $21,301. That's topping up the tanks at the end of the season for everybody, so take advantage of the price right now. The Here Clear, which is the FM system for Glen Lake, $5,256. The SAU assessment, $56,451. Granger fans for the schools, $5,105. Icon, that's the business machine lease, $7,607. And the government connection computer equipment, $17,918, for a grand total of $218,778 for general expenses. Okay, so the grand total for those expenses over $5,000 was $1,104,044. Any questions on that? Yes, Jen?
What is the SAU assessment and the government connection computer equipment?
The SAU assessment is our share of the SAU expenses for the year. Keep the SAU, yes, for the month.
Is it monthly or quarterly? I think it's
Quarterly,
quarterly.
quarterly.
Is
It's
it
not a
monthly?
month.
Quarterly.
Okay.
It is.
It's our share of the
proportionate
SAU.
share. It's 72% of the periodic payment for our 72% share of the SAU's resources.
All right.
I had the same question about the government
Um,
connection.
They're right over
They're-
there.
They're probably, and/or the computers that you approved.
All those
Oh,
computers.
okay. Thank you.
In addition, something special for you. The library roof at Mountain View Middle School has become porous and needs replacement.
Oh dear.
And we so happen that we do have a quote for it,
It's a portion of the roof, the portion of the library.
just over the library, so you don't want to have wet books. And the Finance Committee has taken a vote, and we recommend that you approve this for North Point Roofing Incorporated. We have the finances to do it, so
You haven't told us the number yet.
$28,200.
And again, this is for a section of the roof over the library. It has been examined. It is not in a situation where a repair is going to be effective, so they're gonna do that portion of the roof.
Ray, can I ask you, are they tearing off the existing flat roof and what are they replacing it with?
No, they're going to install new shingles over the existing.
Oh, it's not a flat roof over the,
No.
Oh, okay.
There's no flat roof.
So they're gonna put a second layer of roof
Yes.
shingles?
Yeah.
We fought very hard not to have a flat roof anywhere at Mountain View.
Okay, install shingles, new pipe food seals, and remove all the debris, which is something too. You don't want it laying around.
Can I get a motion?
I'll make the motion
We didn't vote for, do we have to?
to
The expenditures.
approve the expenditure
Yeah,
of
vote on the
the.
manifest.
Yeah, we didn't vote on
$28,000.
that.
I'm sorry.
I had a
forgive
question
me.
on the manifest before we go.
Let's stop.
Let's do
I
this first.
apologize.
But
How often do we look at the transportation for the sped companies that we do with them?
Well, we just signed a 5-year contract with the provider.
Okay.
And so we pay a per.
Well, is
day
it
rate.
3 different ones or is like?
Yeah, Safeway, if the provider can't do a run, we'll contract with, like, Safeway is one of the other companies. Like, that would be for our out-of-district kids, so like, if they have to go to Lighthouse and the provider doesn't have a bus that's available, we'll put it out to bid and call the other companies and get estimates on those.
So this is reasonable prices for transportation?
They're not
now?
reasonable, none of them are
Well-
reasonable.
They are competitive.
They're competitive.
For the industry.
They're
No,
going
they're-
rates.
It just seems to get higher and higher.
Yeah.
They have-
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, we actually
Yeah.
saved quite a bit, actually, with our
Okay.
contract.
our new contracts, both for regular ed and special ed, are reductions in our prior expenditures, in our prior contracts.
Reasonable is gone.
So,
About
back to the,
$140,000 worth of savings between the two of them this year.
Back to the roof. We have a
Well,
motion.
No,
we have
manifest
the-
votes.
we gotta back up. Any other questions about the manifest? All right, all in favor of approving the manifest as presented? Opposed? Abstentions? We're all in favor. Thank you very much. All
Now,
right.
go to the roof.
Now, do I have a motion on the roof
Ginny made a
I
motion.
make that motion for the roof,
in the amount of,
$28,000 for repairs,
28,200.
28,200 for the repairs of the roof over Mount View's library.
and do I have a second?
Second.
Diane seconds. Questions? Lori?
Did we go out for a bid for this one, or was that like the only, how did we get the
Yeah,
quote?
Jerry will usually seek different bids. I can't confirm what he did on this, but I know typically he'll get at least 2 contractors in to at least do a comparative.
Other questions? This will be out of your present operating budget.
Move with.
All in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Unanimous. Is it Rick and Jen, have you gotten this yet?
No, we haven't.
No, we haven't.
Nothing in favor, Mr. Chairman.
Nothing further? HR?
HR, we just had our meeting. We have 2 new policies that are later down on there, and hopefully we can squeeze one in September. So, committee members, keep an eye on your email.
Planning and communications.
No meeting this week, we met 2 weeks ago, we don't meet again until September. We do, have an article submitted talking about our goals and mission statement, as well as recognizing, the graduating class of 2011, and, wishing them well, as well as recognizing the promotion ceremony, 8th grade promotion this coming Thursday.
Do you need any direction and/or consent from the board for anything during the summer? I think you did that last year.
I thought we already got it.
Do
My
we?
recollection is we did that.
We did?
My recollection says,
Great,
yes.
super.
I believe the board approved us just keep going forward with kind of the articles we're writing now.
We
Good.
revisited it in October, but I'm always happy to hear board feedback or further direction.
See any?
We met last Monday. We had a summary of the athletic program this year. Many students, well over 500, participated in sports. All of our sports teams did very well. And then the rest of our conversation was planning our meeting schedule and our agenda for next year.
Actually, the sports, they also submitted, what the effect has been on our budget cuts on the program, where he shared, where he's had to ask for parents to step up and pay more, as well as some field maintenance that's been delayed and everything. So they did share that, some of his hopes of what he might be able to get restored in the future was shared with us.
And we did have a conversation, this had been brought up by myself previously. I guess Parks and Rec, after that situation, had been much better at coming out and getting our fields done and taken care of in a timely fashion. So that was good as well. It was nice to hear that in fact did happen.
But your comments helped out, yes.
And I think we are waiting, I think we have do we have a school board meeting on August 29th? Or,
I believe you do.
Okay.
And then the question is in September, because
yeah,
we scheduled 2 back-to-back board meetings because of the holiday. And so the question is, typically you would have your meeting, I think it's on the 19th, whether we'll have a board meeting or you guys will have HRC&E, and we'll kind of know that at the beginning of
yeah,
September.
we're
And probably
kind
in
of-
August, we'll know kind of where we are with scheduling and what we need
right.
to do.
So we're kind of holding off on that, so we'll know when our next meeting is at a later date.
Suzanne?
Yeah, I still have the question that, now that Parks and Recs are charging fees for their programs, and seeing as how, especially in the wintertime, the majority of their programs happen in our buildings, where we incur the expense, and the maintaining, and the wear and tear, and the whatnot,
Utilities.
should we get a share of those fees?
And I can add, I had a conversation with Rick right after the board brought that topic up, and I thought I shared, or even in my spring debate, that my conversation with Rick was that money is not going back directly into their programs, it's actually going into a
Going into
capital
a fund.
reserve fund.
Yeah, I know.
For bigger projects, but,
So why, to me, that doesn't make a lot of difference,
yeah.
because we're still paying for, I mean, you know, they use all of our gyms.
My concern is, I think we had a gentleman's agreement all these years that they used our facilities free of charge and they provided certain services for us.
Yeah, but they were charging
And now,
fees.
now they're charging fees. I don't think there's anything we can do to compel them to share any of that. However, this board does have the opportunity to say, well, our gentleman's agreement was this was gonna be free to the children and to the citizens of our community. If you're gonna charge them, then we're gonna charge you. Because our gentleman's agreement was, in order for this to be free to the community and to the children and the citizens, we didn't charge anything for the cost of having our janitors unlock or lock the buildings and clean up and things like that. Because that was the gentleman's agreement. We'd always done that because it was gonna be free to the community. We were trying to help support free activities and free sports for the community.
Right. My concern is there's always almost a microscope to our expenses, what we budget. And I kind of think it's unfair to have to keep our buildings open at night and to pay all these expenses for electricity, gym floors are not, they have to be maintained, they're not
Every year.
cheap. And when, as you say, when it was, you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours,
And
it
it
worked
was supposed to be
wonderfully
free.
for a
It was
lot of
supposed to be
years. It worked wonderfully for a lot of years. But now that the town has chosen to charge fees to those kids, I think since a lot of their programs, we incur the expenses. The basketball, they supply the kids and the basketballs. We supply everything else. Well, they supply the volunteer coaches, but they don't get paid,
I don't know if this is a question that you wanna speak
Think
to the
about.
selectmen about. Obviously, we can't, it would be a question to maybe have a conversation with the selectmen about
And
where
I
they
know
are
it's
with
not
that
gonna
and-
be a huge amount of money.
I don't
But-
think it's gonna make any difference.
Um,
I think my only concern is we had a gentleman's agreement and they've changed the gentleman's agreement. And I think there needs to be a discussion because they've changed that gentleman's agreement. Because we always did it because it was gonna be free to the community. That we absorb some of the costs
It
as
was-
well. And,
Those expenses-
unfortunately, our budget's the way it is I'm not sure we can continue to afford those expenses solely ourselves, because of what our budget hits have taken over the years. Parks and Recs,
And
I
our
know.
maintenance, God.
Yes, it's a real big concern for next year that, we're paying someone there to lock up the building after the game, and, well, can we really afford to have that person there?
Or is that a good expense of our money? Good expenditure of our money to promote their programs.
And I had no problem supporting their programs when it was free to the community. I
Yeah.
just feel that they changed the gentleman's agreement without asking for our input, considering we are helping to fund that. That's where my concern is.
And I would say, I don't want them maybe to write the Goffstown School District a check, but if we have to have somebody, say at Mountain View on Saturday for basketball, I think the town should write that person's check. We shouldn't have to pay the personnel.
Yeah, we don't have somebody on the weekends.
No, but
don't have
we do
custodials.
have costs associated with that. We still gotta empty the trash. We have to, on that floor, the more use it gets, that gym floor, because of the amount of use, it requires us to resurface it, urethane it every single year. That's a significant cost.
There's paper
And when you look at
supplies.
all our gymnasiums, that starts to add up.
Something to think about.
I feel saddened that the selectmen didn't take the time, when there was a gentleman's agreement on the table, that they didn't take the time to consult us, considering that we are providing some of the resources. And they made this decision without asking us our opinion or our input, or try to discuss it with us. That's where I'm deeply saddened, and I'm concerned that we can't necessarily afford to do this next year with our budget.
Also, if they're putting that money aside, I'd like to know what they're putting it aside for, personally, you know.
Capital improvements.
On what?
Any of their playing fields, I don't think they specifically
I don't
targeted
think
it from what I
they
understand.
Oh, yeah, they have Boyd Park, okay.
It's interesting, as somebody who has paid a check to Parks and Rec recently for participation in the lacrosse program, if I didn't sit at this table, I wouldn't know it was going to a different fund. I thought that the check I was writing was going to help hedge the cost, cover the cost of what the lacrosse program. I knew what I was writing wasn't doing the whole thing. But it does seem like the money is going to offset the costs incurred by Parks and Rec.
The selectmen were very clear that it wasn't. Maybe the Parks and Rec didn't advertise it, but.
Well, I can't say I was paying 100%
Yeah.
attention.
But I know
Bottom
the
line is
selectmen
I
made it clear that's what it's going
register
to.
And you write the check,
Where do
so.
they play lacrosse?
Stuart Field?
My other concern
And
is,
the travel.
you know, we actually have other community groups that use our schools and our fields, and they all contribute either by giving us money or in-kind donations of maintaining a field, providing the fertilizer, et cetera. You know, they charge, but they in turn provide in-kind donations to us to offset the cost of their using our facilities. And, you know, and that's the reason why we never had any of this discussion with Parks and Recs, because it was always free.
Interesting points.
So I guess maybe we could have somebody from our board have a discussion with the selectmen on, you know, sharing our concerns that they've changed their policy, which affects a gentleman's agreement that we have.
I'd be happy. And can we try to at least get an understanding for what resources we aren't already using in our buildings that they might require? I mean, if, for instance, during the hours that intramural activities
I
are
mean,
occurring.
in general, it would be like, I mean, we have custodians on at night, so unless the
Right.
game went beyond, I think they're on till 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock. If the game went beyond their custodian's already here. It would be light floor usage in the sense of they just
Wear and tear.
more wear and tear on the floor. On a Saturday or a weekend, it would be, you know, obviously lights and use of the floor, heat if in fact, if it's winter time.
Right, we just got the sewer bill.
Water and sewer contributes to it. The town charges us for practically everything. You know, they
So,
don't give us free water or sewer. Maybe
The
they can
board
give that to us.
changed the policy that required a school district person to be there, like on Saturdays. We did have that policy at one time.
To my knowledge, it has not been
You
enforced in the
remember
last 5 years. I don't believe it's been
Yeah, I would say
enforced the
in the
last 5
6 years
years.
I've been here on, like, if they're practicing on the weekends, I don't think we've ever had somebody here.
No.
Like if there's a game on the weekends.
Like, intramural,
Building use policy.
Yeah, they all fill out the forms. That's the only way they can get a guaranteed space, is they have to fill out the forms to be able to use the
Right.
space, but.
But,
So who has the key to let them get in and out? on the
right,
weekend?
we didn't wanna give out keys to,
And
other than
I'd
school
have to
district.
research that.
I could say the key has been given out to non-school district personnel. In the last 5 years, it has.
I think I would be comfortable with the police on Sunday night. Other than that, I'm not comfortable with school keys being out there.
I mean, we have, this building has been inadvertently left
Well, I
unlocked
think
on a
if-
weekend
if-
because of
yeah,
that.
if the board wants to go that direction, I think it's gonna take way more, likely rekeying every building, because I'll be honest, before I became superintendent, I have no idea who has keys. I can track it back to see if we have a record.
I don't think it's a
but-
matter of rekeying the building, it's changing the alarm pad codes. Just really, they have a key and a passcode to get in the building, so if they change the passcodes, that will prevent
I can
them.
research and report back to the board. I just honestly have no idea who has keys.
Lori
what
might wanna
groups
give
have
that policy
keys.
a look-see, see what we're doing and what we're not doing.
I will chat with the selectmen about the fees and the use of.
Maybe we can maybe they can help participate and help us with some of our capital expenses associated with our playing fields and our gymnasium floors.
Yeah.
That would be nice
Just
as
say,
well.
how much are you gonna contribute? Don't ask, just say, how much do you wanna do it? How much are you gonna give us?
And if we can go off the record, I bet you hear a big chuckle if you ask it that way.
Suzanne, anything from the budget committee?
Yes. Budget committee was last Wednesday night. Most of the discussion centered around how to do the next budget. Although they were pleased that we estimated we'd have about 400,000 unreserved from the end of this budget year. But a long discussion happened about next year's budget preparation. What guidance they chose, they decided they wanted to give the boards and whatnot. And the discussion went on and on and on. And so I finally made a motion that said their goal is a level tax rate for the next school year. And if not, explanations as to why we can't meet that goal. And if I hadn't made that motion, we'd probably still be over there talking about it.
Well, the thing is, it's gonna be hard next year.
Well, we understand that.
Because you're gonna have separate contracts, you're gonna have a lot of different
know.
warrant articles to take into consideration,
Yep,
so.
yeah.
Our general fund budget, that may be a very realistic opportunity, but
Well-
Did they say that they needed any information to inform their decision on deciding what a target might be?
You're gonna have to run that by me one more time.
Did they ask for any information from the district about projections for next year that might help inform their decision on a target or advice or direction?
You were there, you were there part of the time. I think their goal is come to us with a level tax rate, and if for some reason that doesn't work, you can't make that work, tell us why.
So they didn't ask for any information from us before they made that decision?
No,
Okay.
no. They did, however, and those of you who watch them, have heard comments over the past several months about our budget process doesn't work, and that last year's requests were distorted. The initial request for a 10% reduction, that had been somehow distorted, and I got the impression they felt by this board. So,
they
What?
made a motion and they
no.
approved the motion, didn't they? I'm just wondering how we don't understand it.
I'm-
So we had the
Let's-
discussion, I asked the question of the person making the comments, what's broken? I don't understand what you mean by this process is broken. As I said, I've been doing this for 25 years now, and some years have been more difficult than others, but at the end of the show, we come up with a budget. So what's broken? And apparently, I wouldn't describe it as broken, but they feel that our process is so complicated that they can't get the information they need from one source. They would like to see, and I've got the minutes here, yeah. What they would like to see on a page, okay? Previous year's budget and expenditures. Current year's budget and current year expenditures. Default budget numbers, bottom line.
There is no such thing.
I know, and requested budget for the following year. I told them I did not know what was doable on our software, and the best I could do was say, yeah, we looked at it and see if we can do it.
Right. Currently, what they receive is each month, they receive the current expenditures by line.
No, they want it on one page.
I understand that. Currently, on one page, they receive the expenditures for the prior 3 years. They receive the budget for the prior year. They receive the proposed budget for the
Next year.
for next year. The only thing that is absent from the present document that is produced, but exists elsewhere. Okay, so that if you were to put the monthly expenditures beside the budget document, you would have all of the information in front of you. The only thing that's absent from that is the default budget calculation.
Right.
Okay, so, there's an ongoing discussion, before we respond to that.
Right,
but
yeah, they don't feel.
It's pretty clear that at a minimum, while right now it's not in a document, all that information is being presented to them, including the default budget. The default budget is not in a line-by-line form.
Right. They understand that right now they're getting it. They were very appreciative of the work Ray did this budget year, upcoming, to get things more onto Excel. They were very happy with that. They would like to see all of it, all on one page, all of that information that you discussed on one page. And not being a software person, and Dan did say he was on the committee that helped pick the current software, and they were promised that they would do all these things. And I remember that too.
Yeah. And I think the only way we
Well,
do it is
it does if you wanna
taking it
spend the
in
money to get the extra.
and dumping it into an
Yeah.
Excel, which always concerns us because unless we check the 4,000 lines in the budget, we can't guarantee that what transcribed from one is accurate on the other.
Right.
The other piece about current expenditures is they do change literally.
Oh, yeah.
Week to
I
week,
know.
month to month. And producing a budget document with current expenditures on it is going to give somebody a snapshot at the time the budget document is prepared. The only way to have a fluid, thoughtful set of information in front of you is if you were to reproduce a budget document every time your expenditures changed. Which would be it would be a task, but more importantly, it would create a mountain of paperwork and information.
It would lead to confusion.
Well, that would be my guess, but ultimately, we're still working on
Right.
a response.
And I guess I would have a question. If you don't have a line by line, how do you come up with your default budget? The grand total of the default
It's because
budget?
it's a calculation.
It's a calculation.
I think what they're looking
Calculation
for
based
is
on the
a
year, previous year
$3,000 line, a $300 line, a $250 line, that way.
Right.
It's a
That's what
bottom
they
line
wanna
number,
see.
plus or minus expenses. It's not a line.
Not
The
a
only way to
line
do
by
that
line.
would be take
It's
what
not
you
line by
have,
line. They're-
take the.
It's not by,
It's
it's
never
taken
has
off
been.
the MS-27. You add and subtract contractual obligations.
Well, they love the
And
MS-27, but I
one-time
don't think they'll
expenses.
like it.
But
for
that's,
this.
that's the way the default budget is calculated. It's off the MS-27, plus or minus contractual obligations and one-time expenditures. So it doesn't go break down by line, it's strictly by the MS-27 lines.
And probably more
That's what the state
importantly,
wants.
when the district is faced with a default budget, what we work from is the existing budget.
Right, that I know.
And then we make changes to the proposed
I think the
budget
assumption
it.
was,
to meet
in
it.
their part, and maybe on mine too, that there was they're called the default budget, where, well, we had
I
supplies
think we show you guys the
$2,300
calculate-
last year, we got supplies $2,300
You
this
guys
year.
get a spread,
Well, I know, we
sheet
got
that
the
has,
spread,
that
yeah.
is the default budget
Yeah.
calculation.
Okay,
That is all that's ever prepared as
And-
default budget.
You know, the truth of the matter is that when we make changes to get to the default, when we did this year, as time goes on, we may see that there are things that we can do because we're a business and things change literally day to day to
Right.
day.
Oh, yeah.
That we may be able to do things that we thought we weren't gonna be able to. We may be able to find savings someplace that allows us to do something that we thought we were gonna have to take out of the budget.
If I could expound on
All-
that.
Yeah, I mean, all we're really doing is, here's the default, here's a number, here's our budget. The budget is the budget.
Yeah.
This is our plan to spend the appropriation and how we believe we're going to use it. All the default does is put a ceiling on that, a floor on that, below where we started, and then we have to figure out what to do between here, and those require cuts. But the budget doesn't change. There's no separate default budget.
No.
It doesn't exist. It is the budget that we prepared, the proposed appropriation.
Right.
And when we end up with a default, which is a number,
you make changes.
based upon a statutory calculation, we make changes to the budget document.
Right,
So it's, the notion that you could have two different things is a fiction.
I mean, for example, right now, our default budget is still very fluid because it's affected by the actual state budget every other year. So we won't know until July some of our costs. We may be able to, some of the pink slip people we did, the employees, we may be able to take some of those back if they fund, let's say, retirement at 30%, or certain grants are actually given to us. you know, we don't know until the summertime which employees are returning for sure, what benefits they're gonna choose for sure. So that affects some of the potential cuts that we make may not have to occur because we have cost savings where we had a couple teachers retire that had family plans and the people that replaced them are singles on the health insurance. That gives us enough to be able to keep a para on
But Keith, I
possibly.
would also add, I mean, even further than that is, you know, the default budget, if you took the same exact detailed budget from this year and said, those are the exact same things we need to purchase next year, and they're not, because building maintenance changes, so what we budgeted for building maintenance this year may be way more or way less than next year. We may have purchased 62 math workbooks this year, we may need 112 next year. So every line item changes
Yeah.
as well.
So, but would you be able to take then the prior year's budget and just change the numbers based on the formula for the default budget to give that, so you can see saying, okay, we had, you know, 50,000 in maintenance, which we're not gonna need again, and we have 2,000 now, and be able to explain that difference?
Let's go back, if I can, to where that document, the number that you're talking about, started. That number started, the number that is the basis for the default calculation, started in September of the year prior. Okay, so you have something that you know at that time that is built upon a set of expenditures, staff, for instance, that exists at that time. Those things do get updated, but it's static. There may be 300 employees that day. There might be 318 by the time you get to where you're expending the money and where the default changes. But the default is not based upon the 318 here, it's based upon the 300 that you had here. All right, so simply making an adjustment based upon that or based upon current expenditures doesn't make a great deal of sense. It's not gonna represent anything and you can't do it.
Let me, because I think I can answer your question. So the only way, here's the only way to do what I think you're saying, which is what did we buy one year compared to the next year and what would have changed, would be to look at a detailed budget from this year. So look at the 300-page document from this year with the detail in it, which would be the default calculation based off of that. Now that would assume that everything that's in that budget was exactly what we purchased, which likely isn't what happens. And then compare it to the proposed budget with the reductions in it next year. So you'd have to put both documents, because there's no way to obviously put those two with the detail together, to say, here's what we purchased this year, here's what we, or at least what we thought we were going to purchase in September for this year, here's what we think we're going to purchase in September for next year in that same line item. Given that those two items, exactly what's in that budget is exactly what we purchased. I think that's the only way to compare, and I'm not sure what that tells you.
Well, it might not tell for us who's having fluid, but it sounds like that's what they're looking for.
But you
What-
can't have it in
what
the same
info-
document, you can't have two
Yeah.
detailed budgets in the same document.
Yeah.
It just-
What information is that gonna give them, though? You know, we have to spend the default money, it has to go to the state, everything has to be approved, and then we take it back and use it in the manner that we have to. I mean, I don't understand what information that they think that they're going to glean from that.
Well, for instance, if I was looking at it from a budgeting standpoint for various things I do, looking at, we planned on fixing a roof for 30,000. And in the budget, I still have 30,000 that we want again, and say, okay, so why didn't that happen? It helps give detail to lead to what happened to cause all that, because if you're looking at a budget, you're not gonna know all the little details, you're not gonna know a boiler broke, we had to fix that, so we had to take from a roof in order to pay for a boiler, because that was more important.
Well, I
when you're
think
looking at
that
two
usually,
details-
that
Because you would
usually
see your
comes out in
manifest.
our narrative, exactly.
But you don't have that snapshot, and I think
But I don't think you'll ever get that snapshot, because in the budget, we don't go back and say, well, this is what we spent it on instead of this. All you're gonna see is a line with a number in the expenditure report. We don't go back and rewrite the budget and say, this is what we spent it on instead of this.
You will note that in our presentation last year and in prior years, and I think it's getting even more and more in depth just because of these kinds of questions, the places where there were significant changes, are all things that were highlighted and noted. This is why there's been a change here. This is what is different.
They would also like to see that,
And they
the
have seen that
explanations as to what,
before.
you know.
Yeah, and I think in the past, I've talked about those, like where large increases or decreases and why that was, or if
But they
line
want it
items
on the
changed.
paper. Not on the paper, on the, whatever they were using.
Because all of that comes up in our description of the budget and our presentation of the budget, you know, like why we're asking and why we need it and.
And
You
last
know.
year, you know, again, one of the things that, we all need to be fair to each other. Last year, the budget document was distributed 3 weeks before our presentation. There were some questions that emerged at the meeting where the school district presented its budget to the committee on a Saturday. Not a lot of questions,
No.
but I suspect that part of that has to do with, it's a document that's this big. For somebody who's been doing it for a year, or 2 years, or 6 or 7 or 8 years, it still is a certain amount of work. For somebody who's been doing it for 6 or 7 or 8 years, you can go through it pretty quickly because you've developed a feel for it. You know some things that you might want to look for. And certainly there were some questions that came up after that, and then there was deliberation. Hopefully, with 3 weeks of lead time, the next time we do this, maybe we'll see some more questions, and we'll provide data that's as comprehensive as we can manage, that makes sense in a single document. Today, again, all of that information is presently being provided and is available. So you could take the 8.5 by 11 of your expenditures, what you see every month, and you could take the most recent one and put it beside the budget document, and it should flow through the same numbers. And to the extent that you had a question when you got to a line and looked at, okay, here was my last year's budget, here's my proposed budget, here are my expenditures. Now, I know I have some unencumbered money there, but here are my expenditures today, so I can at least look at those things. And in December, we're halfway through the year, because probably that's where most of it occurred, most of the dialogue is going to occur. To the extent that you can glean information about expenditures and what we're gonna need before the end of the year, you at least have the opportunity to look line by line and then turn the page to the next page, do the same thing again. Now, again, that's gonna be a lot easier for somebody who's doing it for 8 years than it's gonna be for somebody who's been doing it for a year.
But as you ask for more information, that document gets bigger and bigger, thus it gets harder and harder for those new people to understand. So,
I don't know whether it does or not. I listened with an attentive ear at the last meeting, and I heard a lot of questions that had to do with what the document says. Ultimately, that group has to make a decision about what information it believes is important to it in its decision-making process. We know that already they've asked the community and the district to shoot for a target of a level fund. Level funded, I can't even remember what it was.
Tax rate.
Tax rate. Thank you. I just want to make sure that I said the right thing. They didn't ask us for any information before they did that. And so part of what we'll need to be able to do is to talk with them about the things that have changed year to year. Again, it's an ongoing dialogue. We'll try to pull as much information together as we can for them in a form that they have asked for. Anything else on budget? Good. Moving right along. Superintendent's report.
Longest conversations. I think it was mentioned, just a reminder, Mountain View's promotion ceremony is on Thursday at 5 o'clock. If anybody would like tickets or a parking pass, just send me an email, or Deb Valley at the middle school, we can certainly get you that. I did want to recognize Frank from Victor's. He has donated to Maple Ave a coupon for every student there for a free pizza. 480 free pizzas he's giving away, so I did want to recognize him and thank him for his efforts. That's a huge
Individual thing.
I don't know what size they are.
I think they're mediums or something like that.
They're 10 inch cheese.
Yeah, medium
Wow.
pizza,
Yeah, so I did want to acknowledge him for that. I think that's a great, we have a good relationship
Just don't all
with
show up
Fixers.
at
and-
the same
Yeah, the
time.
same night, we'll have Maple Ave night when everybody brings their pizzas in. I did reconnect with the CAS committee, who is actually looking to move forward and with reconnecting with Huntress, which is the group that did the first cost estimate, and see if they can engage them in getting some further drawings and some further additional key into more specific costs, and they are looking to pay for that. So I'm working with them to establish and work with that. School choice letters went out last week. If you remember, I talked a little bit that Maple Ave was no longer eligible for Title I schools, which means Bartlett students have the right to choose to go to Maple Ave as opposed to Bartlett. So those letters did go out to parents last week with a deadline of the end of this month to let us know if they would like to take us up on that. There's a couple of things that I do want to point out. One is that because Maple Ave is no longer Title I eligible, there are no more Title I services there. So that is a hindrance for parents of students who get those services, because now they won't get those services at Maple Ave. We are also required to provide transportation for that. So transportation would not be a direct run. Students would actually take the bus to Bartlett, and we would have a shuttle from Bartlett to Maple. It's really the only way we can functionally figure out how to do that. So, but that is out there if parents are interested.
Have we received any responses back to that?
None as of today. I'm also have been corresponding with CMK, which is the architect and engineering firm. They came out last week and continued to look at Maple, and Bartlett met with us, met with the administrative, with Ray and I, and the principals and Jerry to go through the RFP one more time to make sure it is what we wanted. We made some slight changes. They measured, they've looked at our buildings, taken tons of pictures, they've put some preliminary designs together, so I'm looking to schedule, I sent out an email today, a meeting for July 6th at 4:30 for anybody who's on that committee. If you can get back to me and let me know if that works for you. I did forward an email as well. And then we'll be setting up pretty consistent regular meetings, but they want to show us kind of those preliminary drawings at that time to see what we think, if they're on target, if we have questions, if we're not getting everything that we think they need to be getting. So let me know if you can make that. I also, so I've been doing a lot of area agreement work because the two other boards have asked me for some questions on that, and I just recognized there's a clause in the RSA that says the area agreement should be on the warrant 2 years prior to the actual warrant, which means it should be on March of 12. So I'm researching it.
Yeah, you're right.
It kind of jumped out at me and was like, whoa, wait a second. So I'm actually, Ray and I are going to call Ed Kaplan tomorrow because he worked with at least the Goffstown board last time, just to get some clarification. I have a bunch of questions on area agreement process, because it's only something you do every 10 years. It's not something I have tons of obviously experience with. So I want to make sure as we move forward that I've got what I think is the correct process to move that forward. So watch for more information. I'll likely send out an email to all three boards at some point, in the next couple of weeks, outlining the process I think you need to go forward to do that, to revamp that. And just the last thing, at the last board meeting, we talked about the smart boards, and the board asked me where they were gonna go. Gary and I had a lengthy conversation about this, and I think you saw the email I sent out. We thought we would send it out, not necessarily competitively, but ask teachers who would like one, who is interested in having one, and get their commitment to kind of the cause of having one, getting trained in it, sharing the information. And so we got 34 requests from teachers, and I have to tell you, not one of them wasn't worthy of getting one. Gary and I spent over 2 hours this morning trying to decide who should get them, based on recommendations from the principals, based on where they were, based on their skills, what they already had in their classroom. And so we did decide 2 are going to Bartlett, 3 are going to Maple Ave, 3 are going to Mountain View, and 2 are going to the high school. But I have to tell you that the requests were so impressive. I got up to 3-page letters from staff, what they would use them for and what they would do. But I wanted to share, and Keith's trying to pull it up. It's was Jen Stanhope, who's a teacher at Bartlett. sent me a little presentation on why she thought her class should have one. And I wanted to share it because it went so far beyond just a smartboard and how we use technology in our schools. And so I did want to just take, I think it's probably about 3 or 4 minutes to go through that with you, because I think it's pretty impressive, and it really shows the board how much teachers use technology and what we use it for. I know it's always one of those, if you're not in the classroom, what do we use all these things for? So. And we can't figure out how to get it, actually, the whole thing on the screen, but I think you'll be able to see the majority of it. Where's the little- Hopefully I'll be able to send you this so we can see it.
Perfect.
Hopefully you'll be able to see the whole thing.
Oh, you need the volume on? Sorry.
Well, there is music at one point.
Oh, okay.
So at this beginning is just.
Thank you.
she didn't obviously do that video, but these are the pieces she did, how we use technology in our classroom. This is actually a report we did.
We are having destructive weather for dinner. Chocolate hail, bread and butter clouds, really creamy, ravioli, F5 hurricane, run for your life, ah! We're gonna die, ah! This is a weather hurricane warning. Everybody must evacuate now.
These are some of the examples of the graphic organizers we have. At the top said to allowing students. Says Everyday Math has connections already for smart boards. As well, Reading Streets does. Top, so these are some of the items we have that we use in our classrooms.
The stand-up has a very full plate.
Yes.
Sounds like a terrific asset.
It's the end. But it was something that she shared she gave to me as kind of her presentation. And I want to share with the board because I think it talks about the level of technology that our teachers are using, and that she took the time to do this, to try to get one of those 10 smart boards that 34 we
She's
had
out of
asked
the
for.
box.
Yes. So again, a very high-end, technology-driven teacher, but clearly has the knowledge base and can
And is she
explain
getting
how
one?
she uses technology.
Is she getting one?
Yes, she is.
Can you say how many people applied?
34.
34 people applied for the 10 smart
10.
boards.
Yeah. And it was a good range from all the schools. So I did want to, I think that was all I had on my superintendent's notes. Thank you for letting me show you that.
Well, that really shows
Should we
more
run
than
that?
just dollars and cents.
Absolutely.
And, you know, a number and who gets one. I mean, that really
No,
shows
it's
that
the high schools.
Oh.
Yeah.
how they're gonna use it and how
Absolutely.
invaluable it is.
And I think it's important, the video that she didn't do but put on there, just the level of technology skills and the expectations of our kids coming up. As an adult, I struggle with, okay, I can't figure out how to make it smaller. Kids know, it is what their environment is nowadays. They are growing up using technology. We need to keep up with that. We need to keep engaging them. We need to move our skills as fast as the kids are learning their skills. So.
And I can tell you,
Thank you. I think the
my own
teachers were
daughter,
very
who is in
excited.
6th grade, is far more proficient at iMovies and actually creates my iMovies for presentations for me. So she does it in half the time.
She get a commission for that?
Yeah, she gets an allowance. Daddy can afford to pay her allowance.
So I will say, the 10 teachers who got them, I informed them today, and they were extremely excited to get them, so.
Can you share with us who those 10 teachers are?
Absolutely.
'Cause I think that they should be well commended for being selected as the 10 teachers, and we look forward to hearing reports back from them next year on how it's
From Bartlett, it's Jen Stanhope and Darcy Crete. Maple Ave was Peggy Zola, Lonnie Spinelli, and Cheryl Brown. We tried to go one each grade so that they could then share within that grade level. Mountain View, Andy Pishka, Leslie Bergagliano, and Terry Donahoe. And from the high school, Lee McCain and Jamie Grattan.
excellent. Well, congratulations to them.
Although I will tell you, all 34 were very deserving. Like I said,
It was a
Gary and I
tough battle,
spent
huh?
2 hours today trying to figure out who should get them.
Guess
It
what?
looks like a tough.
Suzanne.
Suzanne is going to ask, seeing as how we have 24 more teachers waiting in the wings, is there money to buy some more?
You just promised 400,000 back to the budget committee.
Over and above, I never promised 400,000. No.
You confirmed it to them.
No.
That's a promise.
Never
I learned
promised.
that. It's a promise.
No, I didn't make a promise. This board didn't make a promise. It was an estimate.
Okay. But every time they hear an
And
estimate,
we
that's a
have
promise.
now- We have now put it out there, it's 400,000.
Yeah.
Anything over and above 400,000.
Ray thinks we could possibly do 10 more still within that $400,000.
Wow.
See if you don't ask.
These are permanent structures in the classroom, correct?
Correct.
So, just because I heard Andy's name last, Andy Pishka gets a smart board for this coming September. If his classroom gets moved, what happens to the
Yeah,
smart board?
I've spoken to all the administrators in the buildings about trying to match people who would likely stay within those positions within those classrooms. I mean, obviously, if somebody moved, because we can't predict anything, then they would likely lose that smart board and whoever was in that classroom would get it. But we've tried to, I mean, there were lots of factors that we had to take into. People who already have built-in Proximas, likely weren't going to get them that quickly because they already have the built-in Proxima, so it's replacing one, it would be taking some, we'd have to uninstall something that we already put money into installing. So we had to think about that. We had to think about who was going to be teaching what, likely for a while, so we did take all that into consideration.
I mean, it seems to me that part of, and I'm just guessing now and inferring, part of the decision to put one at each grade level at Maple Avenue allows people to be flexible with the use of their room, so that if somebody
Correct.
needs a smart board,
Well, that was
they're
gonna be my
denied
next
access,
question.
it's just not gonna be as easy were it in their
Right.
own room.
So
So
like
it's not
it's-
gonna be that.
Yeah.
So I
like
think
Peggy,
there's a
I'm sure when
model
she's not
to
in her
do that.
classroom, somebody else
Switch
can come in and use it.
Right.
Can you
Yeah.
share?
I mean,
I actually spoke with Lisa Nicholson, who teaches first grade, we were just talking in the hallway. She said congratulations, and we had discussed the possibility of when at lunch and recess, her first graders are in the middle of math, of the first graders coming into my room and using the smart board, which is fine.
We've done art on a cart, music on a cart, math on a cart,
Yeah.
science on a cart.
So
We can certainly move people around to take advantage of our technology. It's not optimal.
Well, that's how they do it now, because they're in the
yeah.
library, so
Right.
like at Maple Ave, it's in the library, so to use it, you have to go to the library
Right.
to use the
You know,
technology.
So, you know, there are ways to do workarounds.
No, I was just curious, because I know that people in our building get moved around a lot, so I didn't know if there was, in June, there was gonna be people in tears saying, I'm not leaving my smartphone.
There's always that
wasn't
chance,
sure.
no matter where we go, but yeah, I mean, our goal would be that whoever gets them would likely keep them, but I can't guarantee
Right.
We don't
anything.
have to have.
Didn't Andy do the presentation that we saw in the fall on a smart board? I thought we saw, yeah, I don't.
Bring us on, bring us forward. Let's go.
Anything else from you?
No, that was it.
Superintendent's report. Okay, second read, policy DIH, fraud prevention and fiscal management.
Hang on.
There wasn't a motion. I think Sue was contemplating.
I'm listening.
No, we were all done discussing it, is what I'm trying to tell you. So if there was
I
anything
make
you
a
wanted to share
motion if we
before,
buy 10 more.
if the budget provides for it.
If the budget provides for it.
If we do
within
not
what
have to
parameter?
dip into the 400,000. If we return the $400,000 that we,
Well, how about we
Said
make a
we would.
motion, how about you make a motion to buy up to 10, providing the budget, we don't have to dip into the $400,000 reserves that we anticipate giving back.
okay.
I can
Keith,
live
why
with
don't you
that.
make the motion?
Well, no, I can live with that motion. I can't live with the motion that just says buy 10, because I feel at this point, we've estimated 400,000, and when you send out that estimate and confirm that estimate,
It's
other
taken
people
as
in this
gospel.
community take that as a promise, is what I've learned in the past. So I guess I'm saying is, I feel like we've made a promise now for the 400,000, and I don't want to renege on that. So that's why I asked her to change her motion, because I wouldn't be able to support that motion the way initially worded. But I will second that motion, though.
I have a motion, I have a second. Questions, discussion. Ginny?
Question, just to put it out there. How much money are 10 smart boards, and would that benefit any pink slip teachers?
Good question.
Yeah, it wouldn't benefit Pink Slip teachers because we can't use the money this year to pay for a teacher
Pay for a
next year.
teacher.
So it wouldn't benefit.
It's about
anything.
52 grand,
Okay.
somewhere around there, 52, 53?
Which probably doesn't cover a starting teacher salary with benefits for
Yeah,
one
right.
person.
But you
Okay.
can't use that money. This has to come out of this
Well,
year's
no,
budget.
no,
You
no,
can't
but
carry it
in
forward.
answer to your question, in terms of measuring the cost as against looking at a teacher's salary.
I forgot that we couldn't use them for next year,
Right.
because I'm thinking, why are we?
No, but it's a
Find
terrific
out.
question,
Find
because
out.
we have to balance those
Yeah.
decisions. And what is the value of 10 smart boards when you compare it to that? And I'd be willing to bet that at 12 and
Yeah, they're
serving
about
salary, you're really
$3,500,
close.
they're about $3,500, and then we've been
installation.
buying, no, that's including them,
Oh, it
we've been
does,
buying,
okay.
it's an additional $1,500 for the 24 clickers for our classroom, which is the assessment piece that goes with the smart boards.
My 24 clippers for each smart board.
Yep,
Any other questions?
So you're talking
so it's
$50,000.
about $5,000 a piece.
Laura?
Is there anything else that we need that money could be used for?
Not at this point, because we've been looking at the budget for a while now, and so things that needed to get done, we've been kind of the last couple of months, you know, obviously like we do every year, this, you know, in January, we start to get close to the end and start to reassess, like, okay, what haven't we done, what can we do, what needs to be fixed, what didn't get fixed, and so I'm confident we're taking care of what we need to take care of.
And I think this is very positive, that teachers are coming forward and doing those kinds of presentations. I mean, if they're doing that much work, instead of just writing down a paragraph, I would like a smart board, because they're like and they're like enthused, and
I mean,
the
I
kids
literally
are
got
gonna benefit
three-page
from
letters
that.
from teachers on what they're going to use them for, how they're gonna use them, why they want one.
And the
Well-
kids are gonna benefit in huge ways because of that enthusiasm, I think.
Part
I
of
think
my
it's a good
thinking
investment.
is, there's not dime one for technology in our upcoming budget.
Correct.
So, and that budget, I doubt if we'll be in this position this time next year.
We had some really good savings this year between the bond, oil prices, the transportation contract, so we had some positive action.
Kind of a unique position for us this year.
Right, which affects what our default budget would be for next year, so it'll lower our default budget savings we saw this year. So, yeah, I don't think this money would be available next year.
No. No.
Any other questions about?
I just want to say congratulations to all 34, because my understanding is all 34 applicants were qualified applicants, and I think that's absolutely phenomenal that 34 applied for those smart boards. I think that's great.
It almost doesn't seem fair, there are only
See.
4 left out, though.
See-
No, there'll be
34
14 left out.
14.
Yeah.
Oh, 14, I'm sorry,
Seeing-
yeah, okay.
yeah. Seeing
It's
no
quarter
other
nine.
questions,
And we're sure there's
All-
no place else that we need it. We're good.
all in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? We're unanimous.
The only thing I ask is that, obviously, we need to make sure we close out the year and know for sure that something
Yeah.
like a roof for the library, something else doesn't come up first.
Yeah.
That's my only
Like,
concern.
well, I mean, there's only
I think there's
10 more
a couple
days
months
to the
figure
end of the
out.
month, so we'll assess at the end of this week where we are and make sure that we have that.
Yeah.
Anything major happens in the next 9 days, they won't buy it.
That's
Yeah.
basically what it is,
I mean,
yes.
that's, yeah.
10 days, actually. Today's
Yeah.
only the 20th.
So now you have the tough choice of going back and finding 10 more.
It's a
Mo-
privilege and I'm happy to do.
Moving along to policy DIH, second read, fraud prevention and fiscal management. Do I have a motion
I'll make a motion to approve it.
as presented, and that follows NHSBA's recommendations?
We had slight tweaks because we brought it before Ray, before everything else, to see of what we actually do compared to their policy and what actually worked with us. So this is tweaked to what we have and what we need.
Do I have a second? Jen? Any other questions?
I have a question. Why did this come up? Is this just
came up as
one of the
another-
routine ones
Yeah,
that they
the
send you?
recommended policies that came in packets, and we didn't have one quite as detailed.
Any other questions? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion as presented? Opposed? Abstentions? We're unanimous. Board authorization requested to conduct business transactions during the summer months.
This
So
was just-
moved.
Second.
Questions? Limitations, concerns? It is what we have done every year, Laura.
Are we expecting anything big over this summer, this year?
Yeah. We have no huge, big projects even going on, so.
Just getting ready for a
Cleaning.
big project.
Yeah, probably the biggest thing is gonna be the oil bid.
I think I'll be busy.
Yes,
Yeah.
and so we've already addressed that. All in favor of providing the district with the authority to conduct business? Opposed?
Oh, I'm for it, sorry.
Abstentions? We're unanimous. Authorization for the superintendent to hire during the summer months.
Again, this is something we do every year.
So moved.
I got a couple of positions
Seconded.
left.
Suzanne?
Sorry,
I'm faster,
seconded by
what can I
Keith.
say?
Me and Sue are going for a record here, just trying to do first and
Yeah.
seconds back and forth tonight.
Let's go.
In regards to the piece where we're hoping we might get money back, that we can hire back some people that we didn't, do we have a plan in place? Because I know how we had addressed what the recommended cuts had been, and I know I had some differences of what I thought was higher priority. So does that get addressed in it?
Right now, from my understanding of what I'm hearing is that the current budget has 0 budgeted for teacher retirement for the state. But what they've done is they've increased the employee rate by 2%, and that they're anticipating that 2% will cover the share that the state was paying. My understanding is in July 1st, we're going to be billed the full rate, Their actuary is going to be doing the study to make sure that those dollars amount equate, and it will be readjusted in January. So we actually won't know until January what that looks like. That's what my understanding is as of today. So
And that's based on if the governor agrees to it.
Agrees
I
to it,
don't
right.
believe the governor, I think
Yeah.
the governor's not gonna agree to that,
So
from my
if
understanding.
what is in there right now stands, it will be January before we'll know. So we will not be probably, I mean, in January, we could bring back some of those positions like tech support or custodian, but teachers, obviously, we likely, because we'll have schedule, everything will be done.
Yep.
So we likely wouldn't bring those people back, but in January, we will likely won't know until January what the actual impact for retirement will be.
Unless, of course, they decide to change the
Change
budget
something else.
in order to accommodate the governor or
Correct.
whatever, so you just don't know.
Unless they override a veto.
Right, you just don't know, we're gonna be in the
So
woods
watch
for a
over the
minimum of 3
summer.
weeks, or maybe
Yeah.
till January, we just don't know.
Watch over the summer, I'll send out updates as I get more information, but that's kind of where it stands at this moment in time.
That is the saddest thing I ever heard, because we could have classes and teachers, except for people can't get their act together.
Yeah.
I mean, I just think that's incredibly terrible. And I think our representatives should know about
They,
it, because
they have email and they have phones.
unbelievable. Unbelievable, that people are gonna not have jobs because they can't make a decision.
Well, they have made a decision, unfortunately, the actuaries need 4 to 5 months to determine if.
Whether that 2% actually matches the state's share.
Still
So as
time is a huge
employees,
challenge.
everybody's gonna get a 2% increase in their contribution for retirement.
So.
So they're gonna get
we-
double
we
money.
did a
if
vote,
they
we have a
search-
motion.
Yeah, we got a motion on
So they're,
the
yeah,
floor,
they're gonna
right?
use our money for 6 months and.
To authorize the superintendent to hire during the summer months. Any other questions about that authorization? Okay, seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? It's unanimous.
It does seem a little ludicrous though, Ginny, I will give you that.
Yeah.
No, it does.
I mean,
Maureen,
in
just
an
let the bucket. Can I defer to
economy
you on
that's
these two?
bad to
I mean, I got a
begin
pretty good
with.
idea of
You
what.
had-
Yeah, that's.
Oh, I have a field trip? I thought we already did that.
No.
We didn't, we did somebody else who had a
So,
field
yeah,
trip.
you had another field trip, yeah. This is, actually for, the field hockey, the girls' field hockey team. Annually, the coaches take them to a college game just to experience what that is like. And so they're asking to go on Friday, September 16th. I believe it's a 6 o'clock game, so they would be leaving late afternoon. At Boston College, it's Boston College versus the University of Maryland. It's a 6 o'clock game at the Chestnut Hill campus. We're gonna take 35 to 40 players and 2 or 3 coaches.
And this is, we've done this before.
We've done this before, yep, I
So
think in the past they've gone to.
So this is an FYI unless somebody has some objections.
Have fun.
Objection.
Have fun, learn a lot.
Great.
Thank you.
Seeing none. Lori, would you tell us about animals in schools?
New
and-
policies.
And service animals. I
So,
know.
I'll
I can
just-
guess the service animals.
Yeah, I'll start with the service animals first, because that one was easy. We needed one, we didn't have one, so now we are bringing one forward to get it. Pretty much addresses the fact that, with some stipulations, but if a child needs a service animal, of what steps in order to having that animal present and,
And
so
that would also be captured in their 504.
I believe so, yes.
Isn't let me just check, I read the policy earlier, I thought it was for personnel and students,
Well, it
right?
might be for,
Right.
it's
It is for both,
the
right?
district, yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty, yeah, if the animal's needed for the district. With that, we also looked at the animals in schools, which kind of refers back to, that's more about having other animals, the classroom ones, the visiting ones. We had a very, about a paragraph was the policy, hadn't been looked at in 10 years. We looked at the sample policy, we tweaked it a bit for our ideas, so, and brought that forward, and so it's more in line with our new one to kind of addressing each other.
So we'll have a second read of that in.
For September at
September,
some point,
September.
probably.
Yeah, you're
Well,
saying, because you have to skip a meeting.
Yeah, skip the August
Over
ones.
the meeting in September, yeah.
Right.
Lori, I just had two thoughts on it, just on number 2. It doesn't make sense, teachers must be contacted prior to having animals in their classroom. I didn't know if it was better to say teachers must be contacted prior to students or adults bringing in animals to their classrooms. Like, I'm guessing that's what that refers to, is somebody from outside bringing an animal into their classroom.
Yeah, that was part of the sample policy. We kind of read it as, someone wanting to bring one as show and tell or something like
Yeah.
that the teacher had to be made aware. I would have no problems.
That's animals in schools as opposed to service animals?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so I just didn't know it was some it was a little unclear
Yeah.
what that actually meant. And then just on, under the second page, under 12, that next paragraph, in each school where these animals are housed, there should be a plan whereby the staff member who visits the school daily during the emergency closing. We don't have a staff member who visits the school daily, so I don't know what we would change that to.
The turtle
Because
goes
there is
home
no,
with
like,
the
there,
electric
yeah,
child.
just there is no such thing as a staff member who visits the school daily if there's emergency closing, so,
Alright,
like, that would
be
never exist. We
Well,
just,
what would we have now? That the teachers would be responsible
the
for
teacher in the
taking
classroom's
it?
responsible for
So we
that.
could probably tweak that to match what our standard
Yeah.
policy is now.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you saw what our policy was before, it was literally, it's like a paragraph. We encourage animals in school when it's appropriate. That was
So
about
those were just
it.
two things I saw
For
that just
example,
would
we
help
really
clarify.
couldn't enforce if somebody, my understanding of the old policy, we couldn't even enforce if somebody brought their own personal dog onto school property or brought it to, say, a softball game. There was no way to say, you can't have your dog here.
It was very, very vague.
Yeah, it was just, I think the committee definitely needed to look at that one. That was a good one.
remember going to Bartlett when we were having puppies.
You know what? And
Okay.
my wife one day showed up to pick up our kid at Maple Ave with the dog, and I was like, oh, what do you do that for?
Okay.
Ginny has a
do
question.
emergency.
I'm
I have-
glad we're doing this.
I have
Fire
a
drills,
question.
building
Yes.
evacuations, animals in the buildings.
First
Like most of
question
them are
is,
like
I see
turtles
people
or
walking their
fish. They're not
dogs
things.
I guess it
in
probably
this
would
parking lot all the
animals in
time. Are we gonna have
school.
signage put up that says no animals on?
We encourage the animals, so.
During
I don't, we
school
don't have
hours,
a, I don't
after
think we have,
school hours.
I don't think we have a policy that says no dogs on campus.
We will once this is in
Yeah,
place.
once
Then-
this is in place, it
It's got a
says
clause
it
for the
can't be on
animals.
school
We
property.
certainly would have to look at that.
Right now, we only have them for some of our playing fields, no pets or anything, playing fields.
But I know, I see people walking their dogs.
This would only be,
down
this would only be for animals in
Need a
school,
pooper
not
scooter.
No, this new policy talks about the property as well.
Yeah, this pretty much gives
So that was just my question,
Yeah.
are we gonna have signage
Yeah.
that?
The high school is very popular with people walking their dogs.
The other question I
Lori,
have
to the
is,
extent that anybody sees anything in the animals in schools policy and has questions, should they email you?
Sure.
Great,
And if we have more, I have no problem bringing it back to committee if there's something
okay.
they want us to look at, especially if there's something going on in district
Yeah.
that we were not aware of at the time.
Would we wanna say something about, like, people walking their dogs, if they can't do it during school hours?
It's right here.
Oh, okay, it's already got
It
it,
says
good.
not at all.
Yeah, it
That's
says
where I
not on
probably
property.
read it.
Jenny?
The other question I had, IMGA service animals, under permissible inquiries, the district, the first sentence, I don't understand why you wouldn't know why that person needed to have a dog at school or animal at school.
Like if it was a student, but if it was like an adult, like we don't have,
Parent
if
coming
they,
in.
if a parent comes in and says this is a service dog, we don't have the right to ask them what their disability is and what requires that, like why, so tell me or give me evidence of that you have a disability to require you to have that dog.
Then I think it needs to be more specific as to who we're asking, because I read this thinking, why wouldn't you know why a child would have an animal at school?
Yeah, I do think it talks about students.
I think the RSA says
Animals
there's
with-
no way
yeah.
that we can actually question it. All we can do is question, is that really a service dog, is all we can ask.
There is the next page talks about children with educational disabilities or five
No, they do.
and that
No,
would
I'm
require
They
a
do.
service animal, that we don't have to pay for it.
In other words, I
Yeah.
can't bring my dog in and pretend I'm blind, I have to prove the dog technically is a service dog, that's all. But we can't ask what the disability is.
Okay, so there's a difference there between the students
Yeah.
and the people coming in, okay. I didn't understand that.
Second read in September. I'm gonna pass these around, instead of just holding them hysteria.
So we have several,
Before we do that, can I ask one question?
Well, one short on the side.
That,
It is, we have extras.
it came up at budget committee. Is there money in the 11-12 budget for a para in the Mountain View Library.
It was, and it was cut.
Okay.
It was cut in to get to default, because it's not in default.
Can I ask another personnel question like that? The guidance counselor position that we advertised at Mountain View, are we still proceeding with that? I thought
Yes.
Okay. I didn't know if that got cut in the end or not, that's why.
No, that's getting filled. Actually, I think we're required because the number's over there. I
Right.
have to.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, so I'm bringing forward, the first one is a teacher retirement. Leila Levine, who teaches first grade at Maple Ave. For 29 years, we tried to convince her to stay for 30.
Oh, my goodness.
But she has decided she's moving out of state, she's getting out of New England, and
Really?
so,
Oh, I gotta go see her.
she is ready to retire. It was a decision she made, I think she was ready to go, so.
Can I ask a question on this regarding it? I know that in our contract that we require a certain amount of notice in order for them to get their
To
longevity pay.
guarantee their longevity this year.
Are we, right, obviously we have to accept the retirement. Are we planning on paying out that retirement
Yes.
stipend out of this year?
Yes, we have already encumbered that money.
Okay, thank you. Because technically, I believe we could wait till next
We-
year
we
because she
could.
didn't give enough notice,
Yep,
but
but given
I
what
wanna
the
make
money
sure we
is-
had the, because we had the money, you know?
Yeah, we encumbered the money this year, so she will actually get that, so I'm looking for,
Can I have a motion to accept?
I'll accept it.
With
Second.
regret?
Yeah, with
Yes, lots of it,
Lots of it.
and lots of thanks. And we could probably find 30 years worth of students to line up and high five.
Probably.
Mine among them.
Make an interesting line. Let's see, Keith, motion, Suzanne, second, all in favor? Opposed, abstentions, we're unanimous.
I'm bringing forward a one-year leave of absence request for Callie Rozimek, who is currently teaching special ed and social studies at the high school. She has requested a one-year leave of absence, and I would support that.
Is, the question I want to ask is not a public question, sorry, so, are we going to non-public at all?
Yes.
Okay, then I'll just ask that question non-public.
Will it impact the decision, or is it for information only?
No, it could potentially,
So. would
under
you-
our
would you-
contracts, we would have to provide it. If Stacy believes that it's an appropriate reason
Yeah,
for it,
no,
we
it
have to
absolutely
provide it,
is.
so.
It absolutely is.
I'd say, no, it couldn't affect my decision, because legally, we'd have to provide it if it's an appropriate
Yeah.
reason.
It's something that happens when people
Okay.
get married and
Um,
have babies.
having
Okay. I was just, yes.
Hank motions,
If you saw her, there's no doubt.
Lori seconds,
Yeah, exactly.
all in favor?
I feel like I'm
Opposed?
breaking confidence, it's
Abstentions?
pretty obvious.
We're good.
Okay. I'm bringing forward 3 nominations. Jennifer Beardsley as the guidance counselor for Golden Lake and Bartlett. It's a split position.
What happened to our previous one?
She is no longer with
Oh,
us.
nope, never mind, I remember now, thank you, sorry, sorry, thank you.
I believe she may have resigned.
No, I just remembered now, thank you, sorry.
Jennifer comes in as a master's step 3.
For the brain to kick
We
in on
got
that one.
63 applications. They interviewed 8 candidates.
Wow, 63?
Yeah, so we've got tons of applicants. She's energetic, enthusiastic, and has experience in an inner-city elementary school. She'll be a great match for Bartlett's unique attributes. Her personality is a magnet for young children, and we envision her being well-liked. Her calm sweetness is perfect for both settings. That was Leslie's
Listen,
comments.
the next time I need somebody
Sometimes
to
you-
help me get a job, I won't know who wrote that.
Yeah.
Colin Leslie.
Do you wanna do all 3 at the same time?
Sure,
Individually.
I have no problem with doing that.
Okay, the next one is Tiffany Garin, who will fill the 3rd grade position I'm bringing forward. Tiffany is currently filling that a 3rd grade position as a long-term sub, and has done a great job this year. We had 50 applicants from that pool, and we interviewed 3, because we did have several internal candidates on that one. She comes in at a bachelor's step 4, and I'm bringing forward Krista Kalapolitis, I messed that name up, as the .6 music teacher at Mountain View. As you recall, we had the full-time position, we've broken it into 2 pieces because we were unable to match what the middle school needs and what Bartlett needs for music for timeframes. And that's been one of the struggles we've had this year, is trying to keep the 90-minute math and language arts blocks. Bartlett has continuously given that up to try to meet the needs of the person in a full-time schedule. So we broke them up with the kind of thought that we would be able to hire, and we have. She's a fabulous, she's a first-year teacher coming in on a master's step 1, but everybody loved her. We had 45 applications. We interviewed 6 people, including Ken Martin, Muriel Arcott, and Chris Belding interviewed her as well. And all really liked her. Thought she'll bring a lot to the middle school. So
Must be nice to have choices.
Yeah.
All in favor?
I'll make a motion.
Excuse me, I need a motion from Keith.
I'll make a motion to
I have a second from Diane. Any questions? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion? Opposed? Abstentions? We're good.
great. I just want to let you know we do have Gary. We'll have a student intern this summer, district-wide. Lucas Moran. He's from Southern New Hampshire University, so that is just an FYI.
He's from Goffstown,
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, he's a graduate of Goffstown just 3 years ago, I think it was.
Yeah.
And then you
That's
have
for
a
Gary,
list
not
of
Lucas.
co-curricular
Typo.
nominations for student council, yearbook, strings, drama, and chorus. I need a motion for those.
I'll make that motion.
Can I,
Need a second?
I'll second him, and I have a quick question for you.
Yes, please.
I'm just going down to strings, drama, and chorus. I believe all 3 of those are current, correct? I know all the other ones are.
Yes, I believe they're all the same people.
Okay, excellent, that's what I thought. Thanks.
I have a question that would benefit non-public in my decision on voting.
Then we'll wait until afterwards.
Okay.
All
I'm
right.
sorry.
That is all I have, other than non-public.
All right, I need a motion to go into non-public.
So moved.
A second. By Jen.
First one,
I
too?
need-
The first one, too? The part of the reason why?
Pursuant to.
Oh,
I would say 91A3.
personnel. With the statutory preamble. We good? All in favor? Nods all around?
Yep, you know it.
Thank you, nice to see you again.
Stacy, was the teacher that you said that was retiring, is that Lee Bob or Bartlett?
I'm sorry, which
Roberta
teacher?
Levine?
Leela
Bartlett.
is Bartlett.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
Mrs. Levine
Leela.
from Bartlett, I thought you said Lee Bob.
Yeah.
I was trying to,
Thank you for coming.
thank you guys, have a good night.
Here.